Seattle Refined, it's one of the hardest to find delicacies in Western Washington.
It's just beautiful to witness, it's beautiful to smell, and best of all, it's beautiful to eat.
The unique treat every Seattleite cheese lover needs to try. Plus,
so with a whole group of friends in 2005, 2006, we gradually have been building this town.
all hail mighty Tieton. Find out how a happy accident turned a tiny town into a force to be reckoned with. Then, Refined discovers a company that puts the ski in brewski.
Yeah, we're making beer right now, and we typically are making beer about 4 to 5 batches a week.
We'll tap into the secret behind this sudsy success. Seattle Refined starts now.
Hey everybody, welcome to Seattle Refined. I'm Gard Swanson. Well, think of your favorite food of all time, and there are probably dozens of amazing places to grab that grub right here in Seattle. But that's not the case with the ultimate cheesy experience of melted raclette. It's big in Europe, but this exotic treat is almost impossible to find here. That's until Refined found Fire and Scrape.
You can see right in here, it's starting to bubble.
But once this starts to melt, it just starts to smell beautiful.
If you love melted cheese and don't know about raclette, it's time to get informed.
It's a Swiss tradition from the late 1200s, and they literally would melt cheese at the fire and serve it over a different set of all sorts of foods.
Beth Ringland and David Pyle may be the cheese saviors of Seattle. They have finally brought this sacred, gooey goodness to the Emerald City.
About 6 or 7 years ago, I went to the Borough Market in London, and you walk in and you're just immediately hit with this wonderful smell of melting cheese. And so I was like a zombie trying to find the source of this cheese. So I came upon it, and they had several machines lined up, and they were melting raclette. I really felt that Seattle needed such a thing.
Beth and David did the research, got the gear, and started up a small business called Fire and Scrape. They are the only melted raclette game in town.
So right now we're in the Sunday Fremont Market every week. We do it on traditional plates with potatoes or a baguette option that we have.
This, you know, is just such a viral way to present cheese, and it's a whole wheel of melting cheese. And so they, much like myself, they're just drawn to it when they walk by our booth. And so it's a wonderful thing to see. You've got this whole group of cheese lovers that we're trying to tap into, and they're not letting us down.
Not only is it delicious, but fun to watch. And the raclette business is so good, Beth and David added a pop-up restaurant and catering events to feed the demand.
We're just going to continue to bring different parts of the city this raclette wonder, because it's just beautiful to witness, it's beautiful to smell, and best of all, it's beautiful to eat. You know, the steamed potatoes with the cornichons and onions are the classic way. Okay. That's how they do it in Switzerland, and that's good enough for them. The apples, the local organic Fuji apples, are fantastic with it.
We've had someone bring their tamale from the booth over down from us and ask for cheese on his tamale, which we did.
Yeah, our motto is we'll put a scrape on that. We'll put a scrape on anything, you know.
But if you try melted raclette, just remember one thing.
It waits for no one. That's what we tell people. It's trying to get back to this shape as soon as it possibly can. So, and when it's a cold day in the Fremont Market, it's, you know, if you order 2 plates, don't wait for your friends, because you've got to go in now.
To learn where you can find Fire and Scrape, head to SeattleRefined.com. We also have more deets on our Facebook page.
Slightly easier to find, but no less delicious, biscuits and gravy.
Refined foodie extraordinaire Jenny Schultz took on the difficult assignment of tracking down some of the most amazing biscuit and gravy spots in the city. And you might be shocked at some of the places she found divine biscuits. Check out the full article on SeattleRefined.com. And while you're on the site, you might as well get nuts for noodles. Our readers can't get enough of the article, 5 places to get fresh Vietnamese noodles in Seattle. So if you want the freshest and the best pho, log on and learn where to find it.
And if you're looking for a new place for amazing brewskis, we found that too. The Refined team took a trip to Snoqualmie to throw back some Drew Brew.
We're at Drew Brew, which is on the top of Snoqualmie Pass, so right at the base of the West Summit ski area. And this here is our tap room. So we have kind of 2 sides of the business. This is our retail side where customers can come in, sample all the different beers we have, get growlers and bottles to go, and hang out after a day on the mountain, whether it's hiking or skiing. And then back there is the brewing side of the business, and that's where all the beer is made. We make all of our beer right here at this location. We have a big focus on session beer, so we really like making beer that's a little lower in alcohol, a little easier to drink. We also kind of do that in two different veins. One is really German influence, and then we also make some Northwest-inspired beers like IPA, hoppier products from all the hops that we get in Yakima. So those are kind of the two main styles of beer that we typically produce. Yeah, we're making beer right now, and we typically are making beer about 4 to 5 batches a week, I would say right now, and typically weekdays is when it's a little bit smells like grain or hops in here. It's a pretty regular occurrence that the brewery is actively being used while customers are in here, and kind of part of the experience is to kind of be immersed into the brewery itself while you're hanging out in the tap room. So right now the team, our brew team is transferring the beer from one vessel to the other. And then once that's done, they'll be boiling this beer for about an hour and a half before it's finished and getting transferred over to the rest of these fermenting tanks. What's happening in there is fermentation, so the yeast is creating alcohol and carbon dioxide. You can see some beers actively fermenting behind you here. So after those 2 weeks are done and the beer's looking nice and clean, then we'll transfer it around the corner into our refrigerated space here, and then it's also where we carbonate the beer. And once it's carbonated, we've tasted it, and we're thinking it's ready to go to market, then we'll keg it or bottle it. We really wanted to bring a brewery to a place that didn't have one. We really love the outdoor kind of lifestyle aspect of Snoqualmie Pass, and then once we had the water and kind of spent more time up here, we've really just fallen in love with everything about this place. And so it was first it was kind of a business decision to be here, and now that we've been here for 2 years, it's kind of a personal passion thing. It's hard to even describe how impactful this place is on the people who are here all the time. So it's a wonderful place to be.
For more information on Drew Brew, log on to our website. Seattle Refined is just getting started.
But this issue is not just logical, it's not rational. It is one that's full of emotion. It's full of a lot of pain.
A Seattle dance company debuts a new show ripped from the headlines. But first, Refined pays a visit to a Northwest town printing its own unique blueprint for success. That's next.
Welcome back to Refined. I'm Gard Swanson. Well, like a phoenix from the ashes, sometimes amazing things come from unexpected places. Refined's John Prentice takes us to a Northwest town thriving thanks to one man's vision.
Ed Marquand is a man of letters, fonts, and spacing. He's been publishing art books for about 40 years, making sure each illustration shines its brightest and each line of print is laser straight.
So these are very, very high-end, created for photographers and architects and textile designers.
So it may come as a surprise. One of Ed's proudest accomplishments involves this: a blank book.
This is a long stitch photo album, and people can use it as either a guest book or as a photo album. They're all made by hand.
Zany luggage tags, do-it-yourself banners, and "You're Just My Typo" greeting cards are a few of the handmade items on the shelves of Paper Hammer, a high-end stationery store in downtown Seattle. But to find out why Ed is so proud of these blank books, cards, and snarky posters, we must find the hands that made them, and we don't have to travel overseas, just over the mountains and into Apple Country to the tiny town of Tieton. Ed says from the moment he first set eyes on this quiet little town, he saw potential.
And the longer I was there, the more I started to notice these empty storefronts and warehouses and things, and I thought, gosh, what could artists, what could designers, what could people who were priced out of creative enterprises in Seattle, what could they do here? So with a whole group of friends in 2005, 2006, we gradually have been building this town.
Ed and his friends combined empty buildings with local talent to create Mighty Tieton, an initiative to help build a brighter future for this tiny town, using what Ed knows best: making words beautiful.
We hire the people in Tieton to create these books. So we've hired about a dozen people. Over the years, we've trained them to do book binding, letterpress printing, laser cutting, and a number of other tasks.
My first name is Serena. I've worked here for like 3 years. I really like it. I've always loved doing crafty stuff. These are going to be 2x3-inch notebooks. I'm gluing together pieces of cloth for the covers.
Maria is a bookbinder. And Ed says when she started about 10 years ago, she had never bound a book. Now she's one of the best in the country.
One of our limited edition books was presented to the Pope last year. And for her, it was quite an honor to know that something that she made with her hands ended up in the Pope's hands.
Steve is hard at work in the mosaic shop. He can spell out almost anything with tiles. But today, he's going to show me how to use a printing press used to type all these catchy phrases.
We just add ink to the cylinder here. Next step is locking up the paper and rolling it across.
All right, let's see what it does.
I think as people realize how digital every part of their life is, the more they kind of crave a real tactile experience, and they also appreciate the craftsmanship and the way that it's made.
Marquand says he's proud to be a part of Mighty Tieton, and so are employees like Edward Armstrong.
You know, I grew up near Tieton. I used to come here for community days when I was a child, and it's changed a lot. But you know, the demographics changed, the economics of the area changed. Now we have to look forward to the future. I mean, there's so many unused resources, underutilized resources in rural areas. You just need to change your thinking about what can be done in these areas to really get something exciting out of them.
And this is a step in that direction?
Absolutely. A great step.
John Prentice, Seattle Refined.
For more on this story, check out our Facebook page. We are just 3 months away from a big celebration at Pike Place Market. On June 29th, the market will open its much anticipated market front with a grand opening for the public to enjoy. The $74 million project expanding the market started back in 2011 and includes some major changes and much needed upgrades, including 30,000 square feet of brand new public space and some of the best views you're going to find anywhere in the city. The market front will complete the historic district after more than 40 years of study and planning. Up next on Refined.
I hope audiences change their way of thinking, have a paradigm shift.
It's a performance that holds a mirror up to our culture. A behind-the-scenes look at the provocative new show, Shot. That's next.
Beat the... Welcome back to Refined. Well, here in Seattle, we are blessed with one of the most amazing art scenes in the city, from the theater to dance to the avant-garde. The arts not only entertain us, they can make us think, and sometimes even change the way we look at the world.
Seattle Spectrum Dance Theater hopes to do both with its high-anticipated season, exploring issues in America today. Seattle Spectrum Dance Theater is launching its 2017 season with a powerful contemporary production called Shot.
It is about police violence against unarmed black men. I mean, it's important to tell a story now because the last several years, it seems like every month, there's another young black person being shot by a policeman. And it feels like it's a crisis of some sort, and it feels like it needs attention and awareness brought to it, and that it really is not just a black issue, it really is an issue in our country. So it's an American issue.
Shot is choreographed by award-winning executive artistic director Donald Byrd.
It's kind of like taking a roller coaster ride. It's not really dangerous. It just feels dangerous. What I say these productions do is that they make you conscious of your aliveness, so you feel alive when you're there. And so if you're interested in getting in touch with your aliveness or feeling more alive, a Spectrum performance is a good way to do that.
Spectrum explores social relevant themes stripped from the headlines, challenging audiences and performers alike to question and consider their own perspectives.
I think I'm most looking forward to emotions that come up. Emotions that come up and how I'm going to deal with them in the moment. Yeah. The piece is very heavy, but this issue is not just logical. It's not rational. It is one that's full of emotion. It's full of a lot of pain. And so I'm actually interested and excited to see how I deal with that personally.
Alex Crozer has danced with Spectrum for 5 years. He says each show offers the audience a chance at a aha moment.
What I'd like them to be able to take away from it is the various sides the various perspectives that we're presenting in the show. There's definitely a push to present a liberal perspective and a conservative perspective about this issue of police brutality and how much of it weighs heavily on the police and how much of it weighs heavily on these black men and women.
I hope audiences change their way of thinking, have a paradigm shift. You know, we're not going to get everybody to be convinced of one way of looking at the issue, but maybe we can have people question what they thought was normal, what they thought was okay, and what they thought justice was.
SHOT completed its run back in February. You can catch Spectrum's next world premiere, Impulse, at the Seattle Rep starting June 15th.
Well, the Husky women's basketball team has been putting on a show all season long.
They made it to the Sweet 16, but sadly their season came to an end Friday night against number 2 seed Mississippi State. It's been a dream season for sure with some of their best players ever. Kelsey Plum is the all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball history. And man, she has been amazing to watch all season. And don't forget about Chantel Osahor. She averaged nearly 16 points a game and an NCAA leading 15.4 rebounds a game. She set the Pac-12 single-game record with 30 rebounds against Washington State back in January. What a season for the Dogs. We'll be right back.
Credits?
Calling all up-and-coming designers hoping for a big break. Apply now to compete in the Independent Designer Runway Show. It's part of Fashion Week at the Bellevue Collection. Your designs will be featured on the runway, and you could win a $5,000 prize package. The application deadline is this Saturday, so act fast. Head to FashionWeekBellevue.com for more information.
Welcome back to Refined. I'm Gard Swanson. Well, one of the many unique features about living here in the Northwest is our Washington State ferries. There's something breathtaking about watching those big boats sail across the Sound. And as Refined's John Prentice reports, if you have the cash and the imagination, one of these beauties, get this, could be the ultimate houseboat for you.
Is your least favorite part of riding a state ferry reaching your destination? Does disembarking give you the blues? Ever find yourself wishing you could stay on a ferry forever? Then WashDOT has a deal for you.
Yeah, so we got a twofer, right? We got 2 former state ferries for sale.
Right now, for about the same price as a condo in Bellevue, you can have the keys to your very own state ferry and ride it for as long as you want.
Anyone can bid on them. Once they meet a minimum bid, you get to walk away with a boat.
This adorable little guy is the Hi-U. Built to carry only 32 cars, it's the smallest state ferry in the fleet. But it's still huge. Lay down some sod on the deck and you could host your next family reunion. Badminton, anyone? Next up,
welcome aboard the Evergreen State, the oldest vessel in the fleet, built back in 1954. It's a big boat.
I think I could put the gazebo right here. What do you think about that?
Built during the Eisenhower administration, the Evergreen State is 310 feet of awesome, with loads of interior square footage, galley kitchen, a deck long enough to play football, and of course... that's an easy fix. Below decks is the domain of Nadine and Rose, 2 massive engines putting out huge horsepower, and...
The drive motors on this are from a surplus World War II destroyer.
What kind of gas mileage does one of these get?
That depends on how hard you want to push the lever forward.
Ian says dreamers are welcome, but before you make your plans to build the ultimate houseboat or go fishing with a few hundred of your closest friends, there's a catch.
You will have to show the state that you have some way to take care of the boat so that it doesn't end up just rotting someplace or without a home.
Asking price for the Hi-U, about $300,000. $450,000 for the Evergreen State. But they're up for auction, so make an offer before it's too late.
So when you're looking at a boat like this, you really just have to beat the scrap value, right?
Yeah, and the scrap value is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but that said, our preference is that this goes to be a vessel for somebody else that finds a new life.
Both boats sold. The Evergreen State went for $300,000 and will be operated in the Southern Caribbean. The Hi-U was also sold to a local business, planning to use it as a floating entertainment venue on Lake Union.
All right, that's a wrap on this edition of Seattle Refined. I'm Gard Swanson. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time right here.